Welcome everyone to our webinar this morning. We are going to go over PhotoView 360 today, and since it's Halloween, we're going to be creating a jack-o'-lantern. I'm going to show you with PhotoView how we can light the pumpkin from within inside. My name is Kimberly Gonzalez. I am an application engineer with Progression Technologies. And first off, we're going to take a look at what is PhotoView 360. SOLIDWORKS PhotoView 360 is a set of tools that enable you to create photorealistic renderings and animations from within SOLIDWORKS. To do this, you simply apply appearances, scenes. You can also apply decals. And once you finish creating the model and applying all these scenes and lightings, we then go into the PhotoView tool. We can preview our model, what it's going to look like from the render, and when we can do the final render as we're in the model, or we can schedule it for a later rendering time. The first thing you do, I'm going to take a look at a couple of the steps we're going to do, and then we're going to go into SOLIDWORKS and I'll do them for you. And the first thing you need to do is turn on PhotoView 360 in your add-ons. That can be found in Tools, Add-ins. And then the next thing we're going to do is go and add an appearance. We're going to add a pitch black background, since this is a pumpkin, and we're going to light it from the inside so you can see the candle, if you will, coming from the inside of the pumpkin. And then the next thing we're going to do is add some lights. We're going to add one point light, which will be our light from the inside. And then I'm going to add some directional lights on the outside just so we can see the pumpkin a little bit. Otherwise, with the pitch black background, we won't really be able to see the pumpkin. We'll just see the cutouts on the pumpkin lighted from within. For the point lights, we are going to go into the basic settings and set some of these settings here, and I'll be showing you this. And then we have some options over here if we go into the PhotoView 360 tab. I can set the brightness of PhotoView. The basic is just the appearances and lighting in SOLIDWORKS. PhotoView's 360 tab actually controls what it's going to look like in the rendering. So we can also add fog, which is, I showed the setting over here with fog, and this one's without. And I'm going to show you both of those renderings when we get to the end. And these are the point lights. And then I'm going to add some directional lighting. This is the view from within SOLIDWORKS. So our rendering is going to look a little different than this. But I'm going to have one directional light in the upper right, and then I'm going to put another directional light in the lower left. So I'm going to switch over to SOLIDWORKS now, and we're going to do these steps. I have a little pumpkin already carved out, nice and pretty for us. I've shelled it so we can see the inside. And I'm just going to kind of position this pumpkin so he looks nice. So we're going to go ahead and get started. First off, let's go to Tools and Add-ins. This is where you will find the settings to turn on PhotoView 360. Okay. Then the next thing we're going to do is to add the appearance. So I'm going to come over here to our task pane, to the Appearance tab. Now I'm going to expand Open Appearances. Well, I'm going to expand Open Scenes, actually. Sorry about that. And then I'm going to go to the Basic Scenes tab. down near the bottom, we have a pitch black scene. I'm going to left click and hold down. I'm going to drag that over to my graphics area. And that's going to apply the black background for us. Now the next thing I'm going to do is the lighting. I'm going to come over here to the left to the display manager. And in the lights folder, I'm going to right click and I'm going to add a point light. Now I'm going to edit the color of the point light because it's defaulted to white and that's going to be very bright. So I'm going to dull it up a little bit by going to a yellow. And I'm going to bring it down just to fade it out a little bit, just where it's like an off yellow. And I'm going to make some changes here in my ambient lighting and my brightness. I'm going to change the ambient lighting to 0.5. I'm going to leave my brightness at 1. And then I'm going to change the specularity to 2.5. Now this is the settings for SOLIDWORKS, and you see how it looks here in SOLIDWORKS right now. Pretty bright. It's going to look different when we render into PhotoView 360 though. I'm going to come now and change to the PhotoView 360 tab. And I'm going to turn this on in PhotoView 360. Here, I'm going to change the brightness to 1. And under Shadows, I'm going to change this to 2.6. And the quality of my shadows to 50. I'm going to leave fog off. But you saw in the PowerPoint presentation, if I put fog on, I could change these settings. And in my PowerPoint, I show these settings to be 25 for the fog radius. That's how far out the fog will radiate around the image. And then I set a quality, how crisp or fuzzy the fog will be. We're going to leave that one off. I will show you a rendering at the end of an image with the fog off and the image with the fog on. Okay, so those are our point lights. Come back over here to basic real quick and show you something. Down here in the light position, the XYZ coordinates, if I set those all to 0, the position of my point light will be where the origin is. This is where I placed my origin when I created this model. And if you adjust that, it's just going to change the position of where the light is set. So I just brought it down a little bit. So this is the position of your point light. 0, 0, 0 is at your origin. We're going to accept this, and then I'm going to come back to my lights and I'm going to add 2 directional lights. So I'm going to right click on the lights folder and add a directional light. And again, I'm going to change the color so it's not as bright. And I'm going to adjust this. I'm just rotating my model around and I'm dragging on the light. I'm going to just kind of bring it to the upper right. I'm going to dim the brightness on the outside. I'm going to make the brightness only 0.1. And then I'm going to go into the PhotoView 360 tab, turn it on in PhotoView 360. So this directional light shows in the rendering. I'm going to change this brightness to 0.2. And then I'm going to change my shadow quality to 55. Now I'm going to add one more directional light. And again, change the color. Change the brightness to 0.3. And then I'm going to go to PhotoView 360 and turn it on in there. Change this brightness to 0.3 and the shadow quality to 51. And I just played around with this ahead of time and just came up with some settings that gave me an image that I was happy with. So that's what you're going to have to do, to kind of get familiar with what tools do what, and you're just going to have to play around with those settings to get the lighting and the image to look the way that makes you happy. So this is what it looks like so far in SOLIDWORKS. So we pretty much have everything set. We have our point light on the inside of the pumpkin. I have some lighting coming from the outside of the pumpkin. So now we're going to come over here to the rendering tools of PhotoView 360. When you turn on PhotoView 360 in the add-ins, you will see this tab. And these are the tools that we are going to use. First, I'm going to go to Options. We'll go back to my PowerPoint real quick. I'll just show some screenshots of these settings first, and then we'll do them. So in Options, you can choose what file type you want to save this image as and where you want to save it. And then you also have some options here on what quality for the preview and for the final render. Just be aware that the higher you put this quality, the longer it's going to take to render. Then when we get the options set, we can turn on a preview window, and you'll see a preview of what it's going to look like. And then if we're happy, if we wanted to, we'd go back and change some settings. If we're happy, then we can do our final render. So let's go and do this in SOLIDWORKS. I'm going to go to Options. We're already in there. We're going to save this as a JPEG in my Pictures folder. And I have the preview set to better. It's good, better, best, and maximum. And remember, the higher we go up, the longer it takes. So my preview is usually okay to leave that at better. And then on my final render, I set it to best. I'm going to say okay to that. Now I'm going to turn on my preview window. Takes a minute for it to come up. And you'll see a preview here of what this is going to look like. And you'll see that I have some lighting. I might want to go and adjust the lighting on the left side if I wanted, but I wanted to put a little bit of dim lighting here just so you can see the pumpkin. Because if I didn't have the directional lighting on the outside, all you would see is the light coming from the inside, the point light, and you wouldn't even see that there's a pumpkin here. So that's why I add a little dim lighting on the outside using directional lights. So we're happy with how this looks. We are going to go up here and do a final render. Now this is going to take a little while. I've done a few playing around with it and different options already. This is going to take a little while to generate. It took about a good 10-15 minutes for mine to do this yesterday. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel this. What you would do is let this render, and then you could click on the image you wanted to save, and you would save the image. Pretty simple. Give it a name and a directory. you would save it right with this option here. But it takes quite a while, so I'm going to go ahead and cancel this. And I'll show you the images that I've saved. This is the image that I saved with fog turned off. And then this is the image that I saved with fog turned on. The fog is radiating out and it creates little blurry, foggy images. I actually prefer the one without fog. But again, you can see the pumpkin dimly because I have dim lighting, directional lighting coming from the outside. And then I have that point light on the inside. It makes it glow from the inside. Okay. Go back to our PowerPoint, and on here I have some images of the two side by side, with fog and without. Well, that concludes showing you how to use the tools within PhotoView 360. Again, it's just going to take some playing around with, getting comfortable and familiar with them, and getting the lighting set in the directions and to the brightness and so forth that fit your needs for what you're trying to render. So have fun playing with them. I hope you enjoyed this. Everyone have a happy Halloween and have a good weekend.